into some live action, see them move the ball through the air. I think they've had some success on the ground. That seems like, as expected, that might be the strength of the offense, kind of coming in just based on having 4 offensive linemen returning, having some returning backs. Damian Harris has looked pretty good, so hopefully they can get the passing game kind of going. That's what I'm excited. No easy challenge against this Patriots pass defense.
And, you know, when you're talking about the offense, obviously the elephant in the room is the quarterback situation. And, you know, if you listen to the reports, it looks like Cam Newton has surged ahead in the quarterback competition. Now, maybe part of that is because Stidham reportedly has some type of hip ailment that's limited him, particularly when it comes to the team portion of practice. Do you guys agree that Cam Newton now is the clear leader for the starting job, from what you've seen?
Well, Fred, I'll just start with, I understand the reports about Stidham, but I think one of the reasons that we've seen Cam stand out a little bit more is because he is an elite quarterback in the NFL, and he's proven that. But my biggest takeaway of Newton from observing camp is that he appears to be healthy. And that was a concern when they signed Newton. Obviously, he's coming off the Liz Frank injury. He had shoulder surgery 2 seasons ago. But he appears to be healthy, which is a good sign. I felt like the first 2 weeks he was still thinking a lot, not as comfortable. But each day we've seen improvement, whereas Stidham and Hoyer, we've seen them stay about the same.
He does appear to be healthy. But again, I ask the question, from what you've seen, have you seen enough to say, at this point, he's the clear leader in the competition?
The last 2 days, he's emerged as a clear leader.
Okay, Megan says yes.
I mean, almost by default, because we just haven't seen much of Stidham the last couple of days. And you know, it's probably working out well for Cam in that he's able to get more opportunities now because it's, you know, Stidham's been pulled back a little bit. But I think with Cam, what we saw early in camp was just not processing quick. You know, it seemed like he was thinking a lot, and I feel like he's made progress in that regard. And yesterday, I feel like he was pretty decisive, albeit at half speed probably, but seems to know a little bit better what he's doing.
Yeah, I'll agree with Megan and Deuce, but I'll just say that Newton has been my leader in the clubhouse since the beginning, and I haven't strayed from that. I mean, they're right about their observations about how in the beginning it was a little bit more of a process for him, thinking as he goes through his progressions and maybe, you know, not firing the ball as quickly as he has been lately. But to me, that was going to come eventually.
Well, but that's not what I'm asking. I think all of us agreed that Newton would win the job from the beginning.
Yeah.
But I'm just talking about empirical evidence that you've seen so far. That's all I'm talking about, right?
I would say it's not close. I'd say he's been the best.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
And I think, I don't know exactly what the situation is with Stidham. You know, obviously Bill is not going to be overly forthcoming with things like that, injury information. But I think before we knew anything about Stidham's health, we had seen signs that Cam was getting more comfortable. I think he's looked more comfortable every day. Mm-hmm. That's my big takeaway. And, you know, to your opening thoughts, Fred, of everything that's going on. The rest of this is sort of window dressing. Who's going to play quarterback is really the only issue here. And the only issue for me was whether or not Cam would be ready to do it. And he looks to me like he's going to be ready to do it. I think he gets better every day.
Okay.
And Deuce is right about yesterday. He took all of the reps, and I thought he looked as comfortable as he has so far.
So if you're watching and you're wondering, why are you showing you guys? Why aren't you showing the field? They're in a portion right now where they're doing walkthroughs. So we're not allowed to film that part because they're doing kind of installation type stuff. But we're going to come back from the break, and once they get through with the warm-ups, the walkthroughs, we'll be right on the field. So we'll take a break, and we'll be right back right after this.
How do we inspire people to lead their healthiest lives? How do we bring everyone together so that healthcare finally works for all of us? We know how. We are the how. Optum. How well gets done.
This is the place to play for $1 million in week 1. DraftKings, land of the millionaire. Football is back. Time to let your competitive streak. Download the app and take your shot at $1 million. DraftKings.
My Caleb Sofa and Love Seat. With Bob's discount, you get both pieces for just $7.99.
$7.99? Are you joking?
Do I look like I'm joking?
Yes. You look like you're joking.
I'm serious.
Cool.
Get Bob's discount!
Why is this? Why is this not? Okay. Yeah, it should fit. It should fit.
The take it back for something smaller with the CarMax 7-day money-back guarantee way. Whatever your way, that's the way car buying should be.
All right, we're back here at Gillette Stadium, high above the practice field with a live edition of Patriots Unfiltered presented by Optum. The team is still in their walkthrough phase, so we have to point our cameras away from the field for the time being, but I promise we'll get back to the field as soon as they're done with this portion of practice, and you'll get to see all your favorites out there. Getting back to the conversation we were having before the break, I think we all have to agree with Paul. The number one question of camp is who will be the starting quarterback for the Patriots on September 13th. And I think we all agree, even if Stidham hadn't been hurt, it was going to be Cam Newton eventually.
Yeah.
And now I think you all feel that he's pulled ahead.
Yeah, he looks like not only is he comfortable, under center, he looks more comfortable with his teammates. Even when, he's not taking a rep. He looks like the kind of guy who, when you just scan the field, you say, oh, he must be the starting quarterback.
Yeah.
He looks like he's taking command. He looks like he's, formed relationships with his teammates. And that's what you want out of your quarterback. You want someone that they like, that they can trust, that they want to go to, that draws people to him. And he seems to be all of those things.
Yeah, you see him having one-on-one conversations with David Andrews. You see him having conversations with Julian Edelman, with Josh McDaniels. And it's the kind of thing that maybe if he in his mind knew he wasn't doing well, would he be doing that? I don't know, maybe he would anyway, but he does seem like
that's him.
Yeah, he's establishing himself as, not only their teammate, but their leader.
Yeah. I think a lot of what made Stidham and Hoyer just kind of stand out early on was they knew what they were doing. They're used to this kind of practice, the pace of practice, the drills, and that's what stood out from Stidham, especially early, to me, was just he knew what he was doing. And I think Cam, you could kind of see he's taking it all in, but as we've been saying, as he's kind of gotten assimilated and gotten used to the process, and is clearly, Jed Fish has been praising him left and right for all the work he's put in to catch up on the playbook. I think you're starting to see the results.
I'm curious to see how this week will unfold, because up until this point, the quarterback reps have been split pretty much evenly, with the exception of the last 2 days, and it's been reported that Stidham's dealing with an injury. But at some point, Belichick has said they have to decide on a starting quarterback. So at some point, we're going to see the reps switch, and I wonder when that will happen.
Well, probably Monday when we no longer have access to practice.
Yeah, I think it's already happened.
Yeah.
I think Newton took them like Thursday, Friday, and then yesterday was way out of whack.
Yeah, Phil Perry asked an interesting question today about, do you plan to have some sort of scrimmage at some point? And Bill didn't answer it directly, but I think he intimated that next week they'll probably do it. And I think, one of the things he said that kind of made me think was, right now maybe it's too early to have a scrimmage because you'd have too many guys just standing around not knowing what the hell to do.
That's a good point.
And it may not be worth
waste of practice time.
Exactly. So let's wait until we get established a little bit more and then do the scrimmage. That makes sense.
Build the foundation.
And the way Bill is continued to say it, the phraseology he's used 2 or 3 times is when we get to the point where now it's the second, the third, the fourth time we've gone over something, the players should be expected to understand it.
Right.
And that's where they are now.
Yeah.
So,
if they're having a scrimmage and guys are making substitution, mistakes left and right and not knowing where to go, like you said, Deuce, it's kind of a waste of time.
Yeah, it defeats the purpose.
This is only our 4th padded practice.
Yeah. So it looks like they've ended the walkthrough right now, and they're headed over to a corner of the field. And I'm not sure we're allowed to film this either, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. This is something they do every camp, and it's really for the rookies. They wet down a corner of the field, and they have the rookies slide through it while they get sprayed. And who's doing the spraying?
It looks like
Matthew Slater. Yep. And so what happens is throughout the rest of the practice, these guys have to practice in soaking wet uniform.
Well, it's not. He's not spraying them, Fred. It's holy water.
Holy water. Right. Yeah. When Matthew Slater does it.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's blessing them.
It's blessing.
What do you think he's saying down there, Scal?
It's the water that you boil hot dogs in.
What do you think Slater's saying to him down there, Scal?
Well,
I haven't prepared anything yet, Deuce.
Get in there and get wet.
Do you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior?
I think.
Yes, I do.
I think it may have been Josh Uche that went first.
Yeah. So
Now we got fumbles.
recovered
all
fumbles.
kinds of stuff.
Slater's getting right in there.
Yeah.
Oh, this is fun.
Yeah. So it's defense and offense, rookies going through there.
Yeah, you're gonna have to practice a little wet today.
I mean, it actually looks fun, you know.
Oh yeah.
Like if you're a kid,
Well,
you'd be running to do this.
It's also going to be close to 90 degrees and 100% humidity. So the best thing you could do is to get a little cooled off
Yeah.
by the.
I do worry about chafing. Though.
Oh, chafing.
Oh well,
Yeah.
that's
swamp.
You get that rash.
Little swamp butt. Yeah.
That can be
Not good.
uncomfortable. Been there.
Well, that's fun. Fun way to kind of start out practice. You wonder if this will kind of set the tone a little bit. A little fun, get everybody up.
Yep. So, did they do this last year?
I don't recall.
I always remember them doing it,
Yeah.
but I can't tell you for sure if they did it last year.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll be right back after this.
For over 60 years, this team has transformed itself into a championship organization. For over 160 years, our team has demonstrated a similar mentality. There are no days off. Our front lines are fortified by people who sacrifice individuality for the team. Our shelves are also stocked with the best quality products and ingredients. Our team members know their roles. We're proud to do our jobs. Shaw's, the official supermarket of the 6-time champion New England Patriots.
Ready or not.
Gillette ProGlide and ProGlide Gel. 5 blades and a pivoting flex ball designed to get virtually every hair on the first stroke while washing away dirt and oil. So you're ready for the day with a clean shave and a clean face.
This is the place to play for $1 million in week 1. DraftKings, land of the millionaire. Football is back. Time to let your competitive streak streak. Download the app and take your shot at $1 million. DraftKings.
All right, back here at Gillette Stadium, Patriots Unfiltered, a special live edition from Training Camp presented by Optum. And the team is still doing their little sliding drill, doing fumbles, ball recovery while soaking wet.
Yeah,
you never know.
the rookie-
It's a condition. When there's a monsoon in December or November, we'll say, well, they practiced it.
Are these rookie coaches?
The
Yeah, it
rookie
looks like
coaches are
even
going
new
now.
coaches.
Oh yeah, that's
Devin
a tradition.
Ross.
That's a tradition as well.
Yeah,
A lot of smiles. Everybody's having a good time here.
yeah. And I think we've had in the past, once in a while, a veteran will just jump in just for the hell of it.
Oh, Jed Fish. He
Yeah.
jumped in head first.
All right.
Well,
And they're on. All right.
he's not a fish out of water anymore.
He's a fish in
In
mud.
water.
But ching.
So that's the end of that. Team's running back to the field, so I believe we can get our cameras back on momentarily.
And you don't have to look at us anymore.
Yeah, 855.
Said the only person worth looking at.
I know, right?
I know. She's like, am I having a good hair day?
It's humid. Got a lot of loose ends.
855-PATS-500 is the Ace Ticket Hotline, web radio at Patriots.com, and just like any of our shows that we do every Tuesday and Thursday at noon on Patriots.com, you can call or email the show. We have a lot of listener participation on every Patriots Unfiltered show, and this show should be no exception. We'll be here until the end of practice, which is probably around noon, 11:45 noon. At some point, we're going to have to turn off our cameras, but we will continue audio up until the end of practice. So right now, we're turning our cameras onto the field, and you can see James White there. Right now they're doing their warm-ups, stretching, offense on one side using one field, defense on the other field. That's a change. That's a COVID change. In the past, they'd have everybody on one field, but now they're just spacing people out as much as they can in a practice, which, my own opinion, silly, but that's what they do.
Yeah. Well, good habits. I just
Looking
try
at
to
Jakob
incorporate
Johnson and Julian Edelman there.
Jakob
Yeah.
Johnson's another guy who has made a pretty big jump from last season. We talked about Gunnar in the open. Jakob has improved a lot as well.
You're absolutely right, Megan. You talk about that second-year jump and just the confidence. You think about the way he looked when he first got on the team through that international program, and it was like, what's this guy going to do?
Exactly.
Now he looks like he belongs. And it's not just the fullback blocking. I mean, he's catching passes, he's running routes, and he looks good. He looks like he's got some speed to him.
He does.
You know?
I think he's looked really good. I have to be honest, I didn't notice him at all in training camp. I wasn't really paying attention. The one thing I did notice is he absolutely destroyed some dude in Tennessee.
Yeah.
In the preseason game in Tennessee, one of the touchdown runs, he absolutely eviscerated
the
some
monster
linebacker.
blocker.
Yeah.
So, I think he's got it in him. I bring that up because I don't think that what he's been doing so far this summer is a fluke. I think he's probably a deceptive athlete for that position, and he's played pretty well.
Well, it also reminds me of something Josh McDaniels said to us a few weeks ago about, we were talking about the guys who opted out, and Danny Vitale was one of the guys who was an off-season acquisition, veteran free agent, and was talking about the type of things that a fullback can do, and he specifically mentioned Vitale being versatile in that role, and I think we've seen so far Jakob Johnson being versatile in that role.
He's like, hold my beer.
Yeah.
You know?
And I just think,
Is that
like,
what the kids say now, Fred?
for how this preseason gone and what they've been able to work on, I just think the running game is going to be critical in the first part of the season. That's the strength of your offense right now. That's what you have. You also might be starting a quarterback who can run pretty well. So I think that's where we've seen so much work on the run game. I think if you have something you can lean on, I think Belichick talked a little this morning about not trying to overwhelm guys where we can't do anything well. If they can get that running game going early, at least give them something to lean on a little bit and get the offense going.
We're taking a little look at a late addition to the team, Nick Folk.
He's back.
In practice.
New
kicker.
number.
Wearing number 6. And, he's going to push Rohrwasser or maybe just take the job from Rohrwasser. It could go either way. But as reported and as we've seen, Rohrwasser has been inconsistent with his kicks. Yesterday was a tough day for him. We haven't seen him kick a lot in practice.
No.
Yeah, I think keeping an eye on this kicker situation there's some value in that. I thought it was interesting, given the circumstances of this season, to head into the year with just one kicker on the roster, experience or not. I mean, just given COVID-19 and all that's going on, if a kicker were to test positive and you don't have depth at that position, you're in a tough situation. So I think having two is to their advantage. But Fred, you're right. Rohrwasser, he had a rough day yesterday.
Yeah, you're looking at Rohrwasser, Bailey, and Folk left to right as they warm up.
Yeah, and I want to jump on what Megan was saying there because, we know what Folk can do. He's been a veteran in this league for a long time. He kicked here on 2 separate occasions last year. Would have just been one if it weren't for the appendectomy that he had on Thanksgiving.
I forgot about that.
But, he actually looked like he was kicking better at the end of last year than he was earlier on in the season. But the thing is, you drafted a kicker with a 5th-round pick.
Yep.
I mean, the fact that you drafted a kicker at all is significant. And don't you, as a team, wouldn't you want that pick to work out?
Oh, of course.
And I think they still do.
Ideally, they don't want a 36-year-old kicker.
Yeah.
They want the draft pick to make it.
You want him to be the kicker for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he's dealing with something physically. We've seen him on the stationary bike a lot during practice. He hasn't kicked a lot. I originally was thinking that maybe they were doing that for a reason, working him in, but now I'm wondering if maybe they were protecting him a little bit because physically he's not up to it. And Fred brought up the fact that some of the kicks yesterday just didn't look right.
Right.
So you wonder if it's maybe more of a physical thing, but he's not going anywhere. If he's not ready to play, they're going to find a way to either get him on the practice squad or IR. In some way.
Yep.
And you have those extra spots on IR now.
Right.
You can bring, I think, to 3.
Or you could even put the veteran Nick Folk on there as well now, as the veterans are allowed to be on there. But I think we'll get a window into it today. Are they alternating kicks? Are they going to start all of a sudden at the end of practice like they usually do, where blow the whistle, everybody runs on to try to hit that last second? Who's taking it? Do they give both guys a chance?
Yep.
I think we'll get a window into, is it an injury thing? Is it a competition thing today?
Yep. We were also looking at some of the wide receivers while we were talking and showing it's good to see N'Keal Harry back out here. He looked a little, I don't know what was going on. He missed a couple practices, then he came back yesterday. He looked a little maybe sick at the end
Squeamish.
of it. Yeah. But it's good to see him back out here today. We saw Sanu warming up. Sanu, Harry, and Edelman are your top 3 receivers. The problem is, after Edelman, it's a little shaky. You don't know what you really have. And so, every rep counts for those two.
Yeah, Fred, and you're right. They are the top three, but Sanu and Harry haven't looked like it yet.
No, I know, but that's who we've got.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
That's kind of the weird spot you're in, where you have some of these older receivers. You know, Sanu has been a receiver in this league, but you know, arguably Gunnar and some of the younger guys, Demir Bird, those guys have looked better, or at least been more consistent than him. So you know, you're kind of stuck between what this guy's done in the past and you know, are we playing for the future? Can these current guys get open? Are they real NFL receivers? Because you're only going to see them in practice until it's time to play the Dolphins.
Yeah. Right now the team is working, you know, I think you see Hoyer working with the line. It's kind of like a 2-minute drill type of thing. And then on another group you see Newton with that group, and if history tells us anything, they work more on running game type of thing. But, you know, and defense is on this side of the field. So, yeah, it looks like they're both working on 2-minute. All right, we'll take a break. We'll be right back after this.
How do we inspire people to lead their healthiest lives? How do we bring everyone together so that healthcare finally works for all of us? We know how. We are the how. Optum. How well gets done.
This is the place to play for $1 million in Week 1. DraftKings, land of the millionaire. Football is back. Time to let your competitive streak streak. Download the app and take your shot at $1 million. DraftKings.
My Caleb sofa and love seat. With Bob's discount, you get both pieces for just $7.99.
$7.99? Are you joking?
Do I look like I'm joking?
Yes. You look like you're joking.
I'm serious.
Cool.
Get Bob's discount.
Why is this? Why is this not? Okay. Yeah, it should fit. It should fit.
The take it back for something smaller with the CarMax 7-day money-back guarantee way. Whatever your way, that's the way car buying should be.
Okay, back here at Gillette Stadium, Patriots Unfiltered, live from training camp, presented by Optum. You know, earlier we were talking about the running game, Deuce, and Sony Michel is obviously on PUP, and Damian Harris, because of that, has got increased reps, and a lot of people say he's looking really good.
I think he's real good. I mean, talk about the second-year jump guys. He's getting a lot of the first snaps just based on the guys that are out right now, which, you know, Lamar Miller also on PUP. So I think so far Harris has been taking most advantage of what the reps he's been given. You know, I think everybody was excited to kind of see him after last year, just kind of a redshirt year, injuries, that kind of thing. But he seems confident. You know, they're blocking well for him. He's had a couple nice runs here in camp. So I'm excited to see him. I think what I've been most surprised out is just how comfortable he looks catching the ball. I know we said that last year about Sony Michel. We were expecting a breakout year for him catching the ball. So I don't want to raise expectations on that, but he's looked good catching the ball out of the backfield too.
And we know the Patriots were hurt with opt-outs, and one of them was Brandon Bolden, and he was a key contributor on special teams. And a lot of times last year we saw that Damian Harris was inactive on game day because he can't contribute in special teams. We have seen him in this camp start to have a part on special teams, and I'm curious to see if that will evolve as well.
So you know, if you're a fan, you know, no preseason games, right? There's no scrimmage that we're going to watch. The first time we actually see guys running through a line with real blocking and real tackling will be September 13th.
Yep.
Does that make it more exciting as a fan, or
more anxious?
Or
I'd say
more anxious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a mixture of excitement and worry, concern, because you don't know what you have or what you don't have. And when it's for real, when the result counts in the standings, that's a little nerve-wracking, I would think, if you're a fan.
Nerve-wracking?
Yeah. Until you see it.
I guess if you have money on it.
Well, we hyped up Michelle a lot last year.
You know me. Nothing that happens in the preseason games sets my mind at ease in any way.
Okay.
But I understand Eric's point on that. But coupling with that, with the Damian Harris stuff, I agree with everything that Deuce said about how Damian Harris has looked on the field. But I'm out on evaluating running backs in training camp with no tackling.
Right.
Like, I'm out on that. I've gone down that road too many times with random guys that, oh man, he looks quick, or he does this, or oh, he caught the ball. Like, it's not just about Sony last year. I'm talking about 20 years of watching running backs in training camp when they don't tackle. They all look great.
Yeah. It's
all
so
look
hard to
great.
tell who can like break those tackles, you know, like because that's such a thing with running backs, you know. It's some guys are so easy to bring down, and then other guys they somehow to break through it all.
And I know that Deuce talked about the running game and the offensive line, and he's not the only one. There's been a lot of people talking about that. Well, this is how they're going to do. I think Greg Bernard wrote bully ball. This is what they're going to try to do. I could see a lot of Cam Newton runs being incorporated into the offense, and if you want to say, well, this is our physical identity, that's part of it because he's such a physical runner even though he's a quarterback, I can buy that. I'm also out on just automatically assuming they're going to be able to run the ball effectively when they didn't do that last year.
Yep.
So I'm going to need to see them run the ball effectively before I just snap my fingers and say, this is what they're going to hang their hat on. Like I said, training camp I don't know what these plays would result in if it was truly live and they were tackling a running back to the ground. I know that some of the plays that Deuce is talking about with Harris, one in particular, we made a really impressive jump cut, quick to the side, got to the sideline, really nice hole by the offensive line, really nice run by Harris. I want to see it, September 13th when they're playing for real and see if the production is the same.
Would you say right now, though, that with Michelle out, that Burkhead is your lead back?
Well, I think Harris will be the lead back.
I think it's Harris's job to lose right now.
Okay.
I think Harris will be the lead back.
However, one thing I do want to see, to Paul's point about not being able to judge the running game in training camp, is if Burkhead looks as quick in the regular season as he has so far in these practices out here. He looks like he's a little bit quicker than he's been in years past. Maybe he's fully healthy. Maybe nothing's, in his way in that regard. But I'd like to see if he can step it up a little bit in the regular season.
And you bring up
he
healthy.
has that, though. I just think it's a matter of staying on the field.
Exactly. You bring up healthy, and that's been a problem for Burkhead over the past couple of years. He's missed some time. So if he can have a full, healthy season, I think we'll get the most out of it.
I think part of the hard thing about evaluating, in addition to everything Paul said, is that, I don't think the Patriots' run defense right now is at least not proven. I mean, I don't know how good they actually are, but, we have seen some successful plays in the running game, but the run defense maybe isn't all that great. And we've also seen the passing game struggle, but we know the Patriots' cornerbacks are pretty good. So, it's just a weird balance of trying to figure out what's good and what's not.
I just think the passing and the running is a little different because I know that not everything is going 100%, right? We know that there are times where plays are designed to be completed, but at least you can see a guy run a route. Did he get open? Was the throw on time? Was the throw accurate? Did he catch it? So you can evaluate it.
Right.
I can't aside from the goal line runs, I can't really evaluate. And the goal line runs went for nothing the other day.
Right. Yeah.
They went 0 for 3 on 3 runs.
That's a good point because
anyone up here could execute a run the way they're doing it.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
I mean,
not
anyone. It would take me a half hour.
It would
to
take
get
a
through
half
the hole.
hour, take long, but we could get the ball and run through the hole.
Right, but because the point is, the defensive linemen, the linebackers, they're not actually going to do in practice what they're going to do in a game. Like
when they were doing what they were going to do in a game,
they stuffed them.
Like Nick Thurman and Scooter Harris are making. It's not like Lawrence Guy and Jawan Bentley are filling the gaps. Like they're not able to move guys that we don't know for sure will be even around.
Right.
So I'm not willing to just say, well, this is what they're going to do. They're going to run the ball. This is what they do. I'm like, maybe it's what they do best, but they might not do it all that well.
Deuce, you mentioned defensive backs. It's one of the things that has a lot of depth on this team, and we can confidently say, we feel good about. But we do have to mention this is the third practice in a row we haven't seen Stephon Gilmore. And we hear it might be a personal or a family issue or something like that.
Personal.
We don't know.
Personal
issue, but he's not here.
Yeah, well,
this is the fourth practice.
Fourth practice in a row. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. They've had good depth. You're seeing, more J.C. Jackson, Jason McCourty's healthy, which is a nice boost for them. But I mean, there's no question that they need Stephon Gilmore. I mean, he is the best player on this team right now, and coming off the last year's performance, you think he's the guy that's going to kind of dictate what you do on defense, how your game plans go, who you're going to take with that kind of stuff. So love to see him back, but at least, you look out there, you still see Jonathan Jones, J.C. Jackson, Jason McCourty, guys who are very experienced in the system, backed up by Devin McCourty, who is the most experienced of all those guys. So that goes a long way. I think, that we're just talking about, it's just a huge puzzle right now, and there's so many factors trying to figure out.
It's a good word.
Going against each other, Is it live tackling? Are they giving guys that stink reps? You know, it's just there's so much trying to figure out what kind of team this is going to be. It's almost an impossible task right now. But you just got to hope that their best players are out there consistently and you know, continue to show up and progress.
A guy I want to keep an eye on, and we know the Patriots have had success with undrafted free agents finding a way on the roster, particularly in the defensive back group. J.C. Jackson was one of those guys, but a guy that has stood out to me, and Paul as well, during this camp is Miles Bryant.
Yep.
He's pieced together a nice camp, and I think he's somebody that we should keep our eyes on and watch.
All right. Let's talk about some other guys that have pieced together a pretty good camp. Devin Ross in the wide receiver group. He's
I agree, Freddie.
Yeah, he's had some, you know, again, he's stringing the plays together.
Yeah. And stacking days, like Bill likes to say.
Yeah.
Right?
So he's another guy that's been looking pretty good. Gunnar Rashevsky last year, who was an undrafted guy, has again, we talked about top of the show, looked good for the most part.
I'll throw another receiver in there, an undrafted guy, Isaiah Zuber, who I think has shown a lot of quickness. He's shown some versatility. He's made some nice catches.
Now on the flip side of all that, you know, sticking with all the undrafted guys, I think we were sort of looking at two others as being, you know, ahead, and that was Will Hastings and Jeff Thomas. And those guys have been back now for several days, and I know that they were behind. This is when Fred talks about when you miss a day or two of camp, how much more that it's almost like when you miss a day of camp, it's like a week.
Yeah.
And that I think you've seen, because all of those receivers that you guys just mentioned, Ross, Olszewski, Zuber, to me, they're all light years ahead of Thomas and Hastings now.
Right.
The way they look on the field, and that's because those guys missed a handful of days.
Yeah, it's like when
they're playing catch up.
It's like you miss a couple days of work, and it doesn't seem like a lot, but then you spend all the morning going through your emails. You know, and you have to play no matter what it is. You have to play catch up.
Yeah.
And that's wasted time that the other guys who have been there don't have to do.
And it's great that Gunnar and Ross and some of these other guys have pieced together a nice camp, but I would really like to see that out of N'Keal Harry, Mohamed Sanu.
Yeah.
And that's the unfortunate part.
Yeah, and you're right.
They're just so different positions, though. It's hard. Like, I've been underwhelmed with Sanu and Harry, no question, but they're bigger guys. Harry, in particular, is going to be on the outside. I think Sanu is a big slot, you know, so he could sort of be, I don't know, Mike Reese on Sunday speculated even, you know, a kind of a Tim Wright tight end kind of a role for him. But I think he's struggling. I think he's having a hard time creating separation and having a hard time consistently catching passes. Now, he did close out the 2-minute drill yesterday with one of the plays of the day. I thought Cam Newton down the seam to him, you know, sort of high, you know, got used his big frame to shield off the defender.
Made a nice catch.
It was a nice touchdown catch. That was good to see Newton and Sanu, because that's something that I think you want to see in the regular season. You know, so, but Megan's right about those guys being underwhelming. And if you wanted to see one guy jump off the field at you at receiver, it's Harry. That's the guy that you wanted to see the biggest jump from. And so far, I think it's been a little slow.
Yeah. Deuce, what about tight ends? You're a big tight end guy.
Yeah.
Is he?
Not as big as the front
Not as big as the front seven, but
that was last year.
I'll dabble here in the tight ends a little bit. Well, I think we've seen a lot of Devin Asiasi, and I know that, you know, I think there's just a lot of reports. I'm trying to focus on him, especially today, because I feel like a lot of people are seeing things that I haven't quite seen with him yet. I do like his hands. I think he's been pretty reliable in that department. He did have a drop yesterday that I think made him take a lap for, but you know, those two guys, I think it's looking like they're going to kind of get thrown in the fire, but Ryan Izzo has looked improved. You know,
he has.
He's been the most well-rounded, kind of consistent guy.
He's been the best tight end.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you, Mike.
Ryan Izzo.
But I'm excited to see Asiasi in the games, and just to get a real sense of how he can play at NFL speed, because that's the biggest thing I've been struggling with.
And consistency. That whole tight end group has been very inconsistent. Izzo aside, because I think he has been the most consistent. He should be too. This is now his third year in the system, and he's had some injury woes too. So hopefully he's a guy who's over those, and that's allowing him to play a little bit more confidently and a little bit better.
Well, and that's just testament to what Bill says about experience. I mean, Asiasi could be light years ahead of Izzo when it comes to just pure talent. But the fact that Izzo's been here, the fact he's done this before,
seeing him right now,
and he knows what he's doing, puts him ahead, makes him look better, you know, in these drills. You know, now But from a pure talent standpoint, maybe Asiasi's more talented, but mentally upstairs,
without
he
question,
he doesn't get it
He's
yet.
more dynamic. There's no
Sure.
doubt. He moves well, as Deuce said. He's shown the ability to catch the ball and get in space. I don't think Izzo necessarily has those kinds of abilities.
Maybe not.
That kind of ability.
Maybe not, but the thing about Izzo coming out of Florida State was that he was a blocker, right?
Yep.
And we saw him do that a little bit last year, but again, he was struggling with injuries. The one thing I think he's done really well this camp is catch the ball when he has been, like, he hasn't, shown blazing speed or anything, but he's gotten open and he's made some tough catches.
That's a profile that I did when he came out as well. And I remember, he is known as a blocker, but his coach said, listen, he's one of those guys, he's not going to wow you with his athleticism, so he's not going to ever be the focal point of an offense, but every time we threw him the ball, he caught it.
Mm-hmm.
He was reliable. He was a reliable receiver, and that might be a guy that might help Cam Newton on third downs, a guy that is going to catch it and move the chains.
So we're going to have to turn our cameras off pretty soon, from what I understand. We're going to get into that portion, but we're going to continue with the audio until the end of practice, probably 11:45 or so. So hang with us, and we'll do audio throughout practice. You can call in 855-PATS-500. That's 855-PATS-500, or you can email the show. That's webradio@patriots.com. Matt, do we want to take a break, or do we want to just keep on going? Okay.
No big whoop.
So let's go to then the Ace Ticket Hotline, where we have John in L.A. Hey, John, what's up?
Johnny.
Hey, guys. Hey. So I call in periodically over the years to talk about the wide receiver drafting of this team. And all of everyone says, I remember Andy and Paul used to nail every single wide receiver draft pick, except for Chad Jackson. But everyone was on Chad Jackson. I just don't get it.
Well, the Deebo Samuel thing is funny too, John, because you may sit there and say, oh, I thought he was the perfect Patriot. The Patriots really liked him. The Patriots had him in for a visit, and there was a lot of buzz around that, it went really well. Samuel, I remember, had some social media posts after that, and I think he was pretty convinced that he was coming back, and who knows, maybe that's why they didn't take him. Maybe they didn't like that he talked about his meeting after the fact. I don't know, but that's the frustrating part. It's one thing. Listen, we missed him. Everybody saw this guy. He was good. We missed him. They didn't miss him. They were on him, and they went in another direction. But I try not to get too lost with 1 year things too. It's all of a sudden a guy lights it up right out of the gate, and he's deemed to be excellent, and sometimes it takes a little while.
No,
we'll see what Harry does down the road.
But it's not like a nice thing if Harry emerges. It's a must.
It's imperative.
It's a must.
I agree. Yeah.
He must emerge as a first-round pick, as a wide receiver for this team. That is a mandatory thing, and if he doesn't, it's not good.
Yeah, I get John's frustration. I mean, you want
Thanks, John.
so badly for Harry to do well. They need him to do well, and when he missed multiple practices again, it's just not a great start. You're just hoping he can get back on track. I mean, I think we're all pulling for him. The team needs him, but he's just got to string some quiet days. That's what I thought in the early sessions. It was like, wow, this is nice. Nikhil's out here every day. He's, just looks quiet. Doesn't seem overwhelmed.